A man serving time in federal prison for one of the biggest financial crimes in history just filed for divorce from a fashion mogul, and he is asking her to pay his legal bills. In this video, we are breaking down the shocking divorce filing from Tim Leissner, the former Goldman Sachs banker at the center of the 1MDB scandal, and what it means for his marriage to Kimora Lee Simmons. We have the court documents, the financial details, and the one clause in the filing that has legal experts scratching their heads. By the end of this video, you will know exactly why this divorce is about to get messy, including the detail about Kimora's net worth that changes everything. But first, let us rewind to where this scandal began. Before we get to the divorce filing, you need to understand why Tim Leissner is not just another white-collar criminal. Tim Leissner was once one of the most powerful bankers at Goldman Sachs. As the chairman of the firm's Southeast Asia division, he oversaw billions of dollars in deals and built relationships with some of the most powerful people in the region. He was known for his charm, his connections, and his ability to close deals that other bankers could not touch. But behind the polished exterior, Leissner was involved in one of the biggest financial frauds in history, the 1MDB scandal, short for One Malaysia Development Berhad, involved the theft of billions of dollars from a Malaysian state investment fund. Leissner admitted to helping raise $6.5 billion in bonds for 1MDB, knowing that a significant portion of the money would be stolen by corrupt officials. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and conspiracy to commit money laundering in 2018. Leissner's cooperation with federal prosecutors was extensive. He provided testimony that helped convict Roger Ng, another former Goldman Sachs banker, and his evidence was crucial in the government's case against the fund's mastermind, Joe Low. In exchange for his cooperation, Leissner received a relatively lenient sentence, 10 years in federal prison, far less than the maximum of 25 years he could have faced. Kimora Lee Simmons, meanwhile, is a fashion icon in her own right. She first rose to fame as a model in the 1990s, working with Chanel, Fendi, and Valentino. She later became the creative director of Baby Phat, the fashion label founded by her then-husband Russell Simmons. Under her leadership, Baby Phat became one of the most successful urban fashion brands of the 2000s, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Kimora and Russell Simmons divorced in 2009, and Kimora went on to build her own empire. She launched KLS Holdings, a company that oversees her various business ventures, and she has continued to work as a model, designer, and television personality. Her net worth is estimated to be in the range of $50 to $80 million, though the exact figure is difficult to pin down due to the complexity of her business holdings. Kimora and Tim Leissner reportedly began dating in 2013, though they kept their relationship private for several years. They got married in 2014 in a small ceremony, and they have one child together, a son named Wolf, who was born in 2015. Kimora also has 3 daughters from previous relationships, Ming Lee and Aoki Lee with Russell Simmons, and Kenzo Lee with actor Jimon Hounsou. For years, Kimora and Tim appeared to be a solid couple. They attended events together, posted photos on social media, and seemed to support each other's careers. But the 1MDB scandal changed everything. When Leissner was arrested in 2018, Kimora stood by him publicly, posting supportive messages on social media and attending his court appearances. But behind the scenes, sources say the marriage was already under strain. But here is where things take a turn nobody expected. So what exactly happened? The details of this divorce filing are more shocking than any crime drama. On July 20th, 2026, Tim Leissner filed for divorce from Kimora Lee Simmons from his prison cell in a federal correctional facility. The filing was submitted through his attorney and included several unusual requests that have legal experts and the public talking. The most surprising request in the filing is Leissner's demand that Kimora pay his legal fees. In the document, Leissner claims that he is unable to afford his own legal representation due to the forfeiture of his assets as part of his criminal conviction. He argues that Kimora, as his spouse, has a legal obligation to support him financially during the divorce proceedings. The request has been met with widespread skepticism, with many legal experts pointing out that Leissner's criminal conduct, which directly led to his financial ruin, makes this argument difficult to sustain. The filing also includes a detailed accounting of the couple's assets, which reveals the extent of Leissner's financial devastation. At the height of his career, Leissner was worth an estimated $100 million. Today, his net worth is effectively zero. His assets were seized by the government as part of his criminal conviction, and he has no income other than a small prison allowance. Kimora, on the other hand, retains her substantial fortune, which is held in trusts and business entities that are separate from Leissner's seized assets. The divorce filing cites irreconcilable differences as the grounds for the divorce, which is the standard language used in no-fault divorces. However, the filing also includes a reference to financial incompatibility, which is an unusual addition that some legal experts believe is designed to support Leissner's request for spousal support. He is essentially arguing that the marriage failed because he lost all his money, one divorce attorney told reporters. That is not a legal argument that is going to get him very far. The timing of the filing is also notable. Leissner has been in prison since 2019 and has approximately 4 years remaining on his sentence. Sources close to the couple say that Kimora had been planning to file for divorce herself, but had been waiting until Leissner's legal situation was more settled. Leissner's decision to file first is being interpreted by some as a strategic move to gain leverage in the divorce proceedings. The couple's child, Wolf, is also a factor in the divorce. At 11 years old, Wolf has been living with Kimora since Leissner's arrest. The divorce filing includes a request for visitation rights, though Leissner acknowledges that any visitation would need to take place within the prison system. Kimora has not yet responded to the filing, but sources close to her say that she is prepared to fight any request that she believes is not in Wolf's best interests. And then came the detail that changed everything. The internet had a lot to say about this divorce, but one reaction stood out above all the rest. The reaction to Tim Leissner's divorce filing was swift and overwhelmingly negative. On social media, users expressed shock and outrage at Leissner's request that Kimora pay his legal fees. This man stole billions of dollars, went to prison, and now he wants his wife to pay for his divorce lawyer? One user wrote on X, "The audacity is unbelievable." Another user pointed out the irony of the situation. Kimora Lee Simmons built her own empire. She did not need Tim Leissner's money, and now he wants hers? Make it make sense. Legal experts were equally critical. Several divorce attorneys who spoke to reporters said that Leissner's request for spousal support was unlikely to succeed given the circumstances of his criminal conviction. A court is not going to order a spouse to pay legal fees for a divorce that is essentially the result of the other spouse's criminal conduct, one attorney said. It would set a terrible precedent. The reaction from the business community was more measured but equally skeptical. Goldman Sachs, which has tried to distance itself from Leissner since the scandal broke, declined to comment on the divorce filing. But several former colleagues of Leissner's expressed private shock at his actions. Tim was always a smart guy, one former colleague told a reporter. But this filing makes him look desperate, and desperation is not a good look in court. Kimora Lee Simmons has not made a public statement about the divorce filing, but her social media activity in the days following the news was telling. She posted a photo of herself and her children with the caption, "Family first, always." The post received hundreds of thousands of likes and was flooded with supportive comments from fans. "You do not owe him anything," one comment read. "Protect your peace in your bag." The reaction from the fashion industry was also notable. Several designers and models who have worked with Kimora posted messages of support on social media. "Kimora has always been a force of nature," one designer wrote. "She will get through this like she gets through everything, with grace and strength." But the post that got the most attention came from someone nobody expected. So what happens now? The answer might surprise you. The divorce proceedings are expected to be lengthy and contentious, given the complexity of the couple's financial situation and the unusual circumstances of Leissner's incarceration. Legal experts predict that the case could take anywhere from 12 to 24 months to resolve, depending on how aggressively Kimora's legal team fights Leissner's requests. The question of spousal support is likely to be the most hotly contested issue. Leissner's argument that Kimora should pay his legal fees is widely expected to fail, but he may have a stronger case for some form of temporary support during the divorce proceedings. A court might order Kimora to pay a small amount of support to ensure that Tim has adequate legal representation, one attorney said, but it is not going to be the windfall he is hoping for. The custody arrangement for Wolf is another major issue. At 11 years old, Wolf is old enough to have his preferences considered by the court, and sources close to Kimora say that he has expressed a desire to continue living with his mother. Leissner's request for visitation rights is also complicated by his prison status. Any visitation would need to take place in a federal correctional facility, which is not an ideal environment for a child. There is also the question of Kimora's business empire. Her companies, including KLS Holdings and various fashion ventures, are held in trusts and business entities that are separate from her personal assets. Leissner's attorneys will likely argue that some of these assets should be considered marital property, but legal experts say this argument is unlikely to succeed given the timing of Leissner's criminal conviction and the separation of their finances. The broader implications of the divorce for the 1MDB scandal are also worth considering. Leissner is still cooperating with federal prosecutors, and his divorce could potentially complicate his cooperation agreement. If the divorce becomes acrimonious, Leissner might be tempted to reveal additional information about the scandal in an effort to gain leverage. A messy divorce can make people do unpredictable things, one legal analyst said, and Tim Leissner knows where a lot of bodies are buried. Kimora, meanwhile, is expected to focus on her business and her children in the wake of the divorce. She has several major projects in the works, including a new fashion line and a potential return to television. Sources close to her say that she is determined to put the scandal behind her and move forward with her life. Kimora is not going to let this define her, one friend said. She has been through worse, and she always comes out stronger. And if our sources are right, this is only the beginning. Tim Leissner built a fortune by stealing from the poorest people in Southeast Asia, and now he is trying to steal from his own wife to pay for the divorce. The courtroom may be his last stage, but the audience is not buying the act. And this time, there is no Goldman Sachs to bail him out.